And so you've got a great piece on BloombergPolitics.com that lays it out kind of month by month of what it would have to take, because it's all about the delegates, who they are, and their freedom to maybe switch votes. So let's start with the month we're in now. Even as the primaries and caucuses are still taking place, delegates are being selected. What has to happen in this period that you call the hunt?
Yeah, so, we're going to talk tonight about who won how many delegates, and we're going to talk about numbers. The individual delegates, the people who go to Cleveland to fill those roles for their states, have often yet to be decided. And so there's a kind of shadow campaign going on now, and a hunt to put your loyalists in slots, even if you didn't win them, for the other candidates, for Cruz, for Kasich, for potentially Rubio. So, last Saturday, Iowa was having their county conventions. They were selecting people who'd been elected the night of the Iowa caucuses in February. Those people are going to go to the county convention. It's a multi-layer funneling process. This weekend in Georgia, they're having congressional district conventions, and it's entirely possible. What the goal for these other campaigns is, they want to find states where maybe Trump won the majority of delegates, but they can get their people in those Trump spots so that when they become free to vote their conscience, they're going to vote for Kasich or Cruz or somebody else.
And we should say right at the top, typically, the rules differ by state, but typically delegates, the vast majority, bound on the first ballot. But if Trump doesn't get a majority on the first ballot, then many of the delegates become free agents, and their loyalties to Trump may be non-existent.
Yeah, they might have
elected as Trump.
That's right. They might have their own preferences, and they might be able to. You might be able to deal with them. You might be able to take their vote. And as we'll get to, there are other things you vote on besides the nomination itself that'll have a real impact.
Right. They never may have been that loyal to Trump in the first place. But
right.
In April, now we move on to the next phase of this plan. After the hunt, we move to the sell. Who's getting sold?
Yeah. So there's sort of the saying that's gone around that you can't have a brokered convention because there aren't any brokers, and I think that's right at the national level. The people who pick delegate slates in many of these states are local party brokers. It's either the state party chairperson. If there's a governor in the state, often that person basically runs the state party. And so you look at a state like South Carolina. Trump won all 50 delegates, the first time in modern history that a candidate has done that. And yet, the people who are getting selected to be the Trump delegates at the convention had to have been delegates to the state convention last May, before Trump even announced his candidacy. Right. So the people who are going to get put on there are going to be more likely to be loyal to Nikki Haley or loyal to Tim Scott or Lindsey Graham.
Who ain't for Trump.
Who are very anti-Trump. And so you could end up right now, as long as candidates like the anti-Trump candidates win over those state party bosses, you could see them stacking those slates with people who won't go for Trump.
We got 3 more months to get to, so let's talk about May and the deal.
Yeah, so you're going to have these free agents or these double agents, people in the Trump spots. You want them to come over to you. And what is remarkable is how acceptable practices that we would normally think of as improper are. It's not clear to me that you could actually be prevented from offering somebody cash for their vote. All sorts of other deals will go on at the state party level and the national party level.
Well, yeah, and then we get to June, which is when we get to the switch, which is about rules, right? Talk about that.
So the questions about who can be entered into nomination, which states are eligible to vote, and disqualifying states. We had a conversation the night of the Nevada caucuses about some of these irregularities that took place. Right. That could be grounds to challenge the results in Nevada, a Trump state. The contest committee, something we don't talk about much. If you want to knock Nevada out, you're going to need to win a vote in the contest committee, and that vote will end up going to the floor of the convention.
And would you need a majority of the total delegates, or then they'd be subtracted from the?
Well, so in the past, there have been rules changes that make it impossible for the delegates from the states whose contests are being questioned from even voting on those. So you could theoretically take 20 Trump states, challenge all of them, and then you just need a majority of the people from the other states, the non-Trump states, to vote to exclude them.
All right, so we get to July, we get to Cleveland, we get to the pinch where they would actually, after laying all this groundwork, do what?
Yeah, so probably what Trump would not get the votes he needs on the first ballot, and then you'd start to see basically some of these delegations start to look like Trojan horses. You go the first ballot, nobody gets a majority. The second ballot comes, all of a sudden those 50 delegates that Trump is counting on in South Carolina end up going to Cruz or going to Paul Ryan or whoever it is, and that's where it's important. Paul Ryan's going to be the speaker, as the speaker is going to be the chairman of this convention. Basically, the speaker and the parliamentarian can do whatever they want. In 2012, we saw they called a voice vote. Ron Paul delegates were far louder than Mitt Romney's supporters on a rules question. They ruled them out of order. They said the ayes have it. The sergeant at arms is going to be loyal to whoever is running the party at that point. If Reince Priebus wants to use the rules to ensure that Donald Trump doesn't get the nomination, he can do it.
Will it be up to him?
effectively, what usually happens is you have a presumptive nominee and they get handed control of the convention. If there isn't a presumptive nominee, the RNC chairman is going to be the one who picks who's on these committees.
Who's on the committees, what the program's like, the order of the votes, everything.
And a lot of these things, the parliamentarian, the sergeant at arms, are usually honorary posts. If you need to maintain order in the hall, those aren't going to be so honorary.
Let me ask this big question. You just reported this piece. It's captivating. It's incredibly complicated what we're all talking about here. How many people in your reporting, how many people actually understand the whole thing? Like, who has all of this in their heads, or is this just going to be, in fact, piecemeal chaos if it happens?
I think it's going to be piecemeal chaos. There are people in individual states who understand quite clearly the process and the players in their own states. There are very few people, there are a half dozen Republican lawyers who've been through this. The Romney folks went through a sort of dry run, a low-stakes dry run of this, trying to push aside some of the Ron Paul Michigas in 2012. And so there are folks, Ben Ginsburg, Katie Biber-Chen, lawyers on that team who are incredibly useful now. But we haven't had anything at this scale, and you do need some form of coordination. And the campaigns are just getting around to really invest.
This is an Ocean's 11 heist with no Danny Ocean.
Yes.
Or many Danny Oceans.